What's up, Headliner Nation? Kyle back with the fantasy headliners. I've got my top 30 wide receiver rankings for week 4 ready to drop them on you. Got a couple of changes from my start and sit video. Obviously, the news that Tennessee and Pittsburgh has been canceled for week 4 is affecting these rankings quite a bit. So we needed to change a few things up. So if you've watched the start and sit video, it's imperative that you check out this quick and dirty top 30 so we can see what changes have been made. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to jump right into it. And let's do that right now. Starting at number 30, Brandon Aiyuk from the San Francisco 49ers. Now getting a lot of questions about Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel returned to practice today, October 1st, but he is only returned to practice. There is no guarantee he will play this week. Returning to practice on Thursday doesn't bode well for returning to a game and being 100% ready to go for the next few days. So I'm not really anticipating Deebo Samuel, number 1, playing this week, and if he does, number 2, not being 100% or being fully integrated back into the game plan. And I liked what they did with Brandon Aiyuk last week, used him on the ground and through the air. Kyle Shanahan getting a little bit tricky with him, just like he did with Deebo Samuel. Now Samuel is in on Sunday, we will take a look at Brandon Aiyuk and decide if we need to make that change. Allen Lazard really establishing himself as that wide receiver 2 in Green Bay last week with no Devonta Adams, steps up and has a huge game. This week, they get the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football, so I expect a lot of points and a lot of passing. Allen Lazard is the wide receiver 2 in Green Bay, makes it into the top 30 this week. Jarvis Landry, still going to put him in the top 30 right now. I know he's not doing what a lot of people would have liked, but keep in mind with Jarvis Landry, he had that offseason hip surgery. So these first few games have been his first game action since then. You know, the hope is if you have a preseason, your guys with offseason surgery, you can kind of get back into there slowly, get them back in the offense, on the field, all of those things. Jarvis Landry didn't have that luxury this year. He had to jump right back in there. So even a couple of weeks ago when it was like, oh, he might be a little bit limited, it makes sense. A little bit sore after week 1. So let's give him a little bit of time to really start working his way back. We know that Jarvis Landry and Baker Mayfield from last year had a really good connection. It's going to pick up at some point, and I expect it to possibly start happening again this week. Now getting into week 4, Jarvis Landry should start feeling better more and more often. And number 27, T.Y. Hilton. The Colts really don't have anyone else to throw to. That's part of the issue and why T.Y. Hilton is still making it in to my top 30. Now, am I adjusting my expectations a little bit and making him more of a wide receiver 3 than a wide receiver 2? Yeah, because we just haven't seen a whole lot from him this season. But I mean, they've got Mo Alley-Cox, and that's about it. Zach Pascal, yeah, he's had some games here or there, but he is the tried and true wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis. They have injuries all over the place. I expect him to start picking up the pace at some point in time, and so does his grandmother. His grandmother has let him know he needs to pick it up. You know, and if that's what your grandma wants, man, you got to pick it up. So he's going to do it here pretty soon. CeeDee Lamb at 26. I like him as a safe option compared to Michael Gallup this week. Michael Gallup has got that upside to go bang every single week, but I think he's also got that boom to go down, way down to the floor level. So I like CeeDee Lamb working out of the slot where he's been all season long to really continue to be a safe option that can see a decent amount of volume. Will Fuller at number 25. The only reason I don't have him higher as well because when the dude steps on the field, there's a 50-50 chance he's not going to get off the field healthy. That's the only reason he's a little bit lower. If you've got him as a wide receiver 2, that's all right. That's good. He's got more than enough upside to cover that. The concern is if he gets banged up a little bit, does he have to come off the field? Does he miss the rest of the game? We're just working in some of that injury history a little bit, especially even this year, again, getting banged up a little bit, working that in. But again, last week having a huge target share. Speaking of huge target shares, Julian Edelman at number 24. The guy has, again, there's nobody else around Cam Newton to really take away Julian Edelman's volume. So Cam Newton is looking his way often. Now, again, A lot of people say volume is king in fantasy football. Well, I always say that there's a difference between good volume and bad volume. And with Julian Edelman, it could be either or. It could be good volume one week where he's putting it all together. He might get 10 targets. He catches 9 of those. It could be another week where he gets like 8 targets, but he only catches 3. So it's one of those things where he does fluctuate a little bit. He's getting more than enough volume that he still needs to stick inside my top 30. But again, I think that ceiling is going to be based on how accurate is Cam Newton that week, how well is the offense flowing, are him and Julian Edelman on the same page, things of that nature. So that's why I've got him down here at 24. And number 23, DJ Moore. I originally had him listed as a sit this week in my start and sit video, but we're changing him over to a start. And why is that? Because we're losing some wide receivers this week that we really didn't anticipate losing. And with that, we're going to move DJ Moore back inside the top 30 and list him as a start now. Because if you own DJ Moore, you're likely not going to be able to sit him this week. Again, we're potentially going to be missing a Deontay Johnson, a Juju Smith-Schuster, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith. We're going to be missing A.J. Brown even was going to try and make his way back this week. Probably wasn't going to be happening, but that's even done at this point. If somebody wanted to try and start Eric Ebron. So we've got a lot of guys missing, even running backs missing. Derrick Henry. We've got James Conner missing. So if you needed a flex option, that's why we've got DJ Moore back in here as a start this week, because honestly, you're not going to be able to afford to sit him anyway. Too many pieces missing this week. Tyler Boyd at number 22 continues to establish himself as the wide receiver 1 for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals are also trying to blow out Joe Burrow's arm his rookie year by having him throw the ball 40 to 60 times every single game. So Tyler Boyd, massive upside every single week. Odell Beckham Jr. at 21. Again, I'm going to keep listing these guys as starts for right now until I see something that really is critical to them not being able to succeed. The Browns offense is looking a little bit better each and every week. They're pounding the ball on the ground with Nick Chubb. It's opening a lot of space for the wide receivers. And Kevin Stefanski has done an excellent job getting Baker Mayfield on the move in a positive way. Okay, and when the run game is as good as it is, they're getting Baker Mayfield out into play action. Even a couple of weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, the first play of the game, actually the first 2 were play action, and the defense was already biting on the run. Imagine when Nick Chubb is boom, 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 up the middle, yard after yard after yard. When you start throwing those play actions in more and more and more, it's going to make these guys highly successful. The offense is getting better. I expect it to get better more and more throughout the season because this is a new playbook. It's a new coach that they're learning with right now. They didn't get that preseason. So if you can see that positive step forward every single week, that's good. And I like seeing that from this Browns team. In number 20, Keenan Allen, an outstanding 19 targets last week. Week 1 was not a great week with Tyrod Taylor. Everybody was super upset. We've missed on Keenan Allen, all that stuff. All of a sudden, boom, last couple of weeks, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen is looking good, okay? He is a steal right now for a lot of you that got him in the 5th or 6th rounds as your wide receiver 2. Hey, even some of you that maybe went wide receiver heavy, you got him as your wide receiver 3, and he's performing as such. DJ Chark at number 19 missed last week, trending towards playing this week, okay? Maybe a little bit low right now, but again, when you're working your way back from that rib injury, not feeling the best, maybe it takes you a week to get back. So we're going to have him a little bit lower at 19. And number 18, my Manscaped must start this week was Devante Parker, and I'm still rolling with it. He gets an excellent matchup this week against the Seattle Seahawks that allow the most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers by a whole whopping 24 points. That is a huge difference. The next closest team, 24 points away from the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks defense giving up a ton to wide receivers, which makes sense because they're throwing the ball an awful lot. So that's going to continue to happen. And number 17, big play. Galladay is back. He was healthy last week. I've got him back in here at number 17 this week. Just again, being a little bit cautious with it. If he comes back and has another excellent week this week, then we're going to bump him up even more. So I'm just kind of, I'm putting him in his floor this week. His ceiling is right around probably a wide receiver 1, especially if that New Orleans offense is back and healthy this week and feeling good and moves the ball well against this Detroit defense. Kenny Galladay could have himself a big week. So as of right now, around 17, but he's got a much higher ceiling than that. At number 16, Robert Woods, Mr. Bobby Trees himself. At number 16, the dude looked great last week. Even though he had a tough matchup, he still balled out. Good for him. Love to see that. Robert Woods was a must-have for us over the offseason, and he is playing as such. At number 15, Stephon Diggs. A lot of people right now are eating their words on Josh Allen, and I will admit I was not a Josh Allen fan when he came out. And part of that was because I thought he was going to be rushed along by the Bills. He could have sat for a couple of years, learned a little bit, worked on some of the mechanical issues that made him inaccurate, and then step in at that point. But you know what? He has grown a lot quicker than what I had anticipated. And this offseason, I even changed my mind with Josh Allen. I said, this dude is here. He is here. He looks good. If he takes another step forward, he's going to look even better. And sure enough, with Stephon Diggs, John Brown, the Beazles, a good run game with Devin Singletary in his second full season, an excellent defense, Buffalo is looking like a true team out there. So Stephon Diggs is going to continue to be a high upside player every single week. Terry McLaurin, 6th in the NFL right now in receiving yards. A lot of people taking a look at Dwayne Haskins, whether or not he's going to be benched. You know, Dwayne Haskins hasn't played the best, but Terry McLaurin is still getting his. So we're going to keep playing him, especially when you're going to be finding yourself in situations where you're going to be throwing the ball an awful lot. This run game right now is not super efficient. Antonio Gibson's looked a little bit better each and every week. But again, they don't have that explosive run game that they may have had if, you know, Darius Geis didn't get himself into trouble and AP was still there. So it's a little bit different in the backfield this year. They're throwing the ball a little bit more often. The defense looks better. But again, if Terry McLaurin is going to be that wide receiver one and get plenty of volume, then we're going to keep looking that way every single week. And number 13, Mike Evans, that look that he's giving you right now is a look to those that keep asking if you should bench him. And we got a lot of questions last week, and I even told Jake at one point, I am really surprised that so many people have asked us whether or not they should start Mike Evans. And some of you did have some really tough decisions, Mike Evans or this person. And some of you, even last week, you look at the box score and you see 2 receptions for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you say to yourself, if he doesn't catch those 2 touchdowns, like this is a lost cause last week. So it's worrying some of you. And I get it and I understand that. But we're going to toss Mike Evans out there. Chris Godwin is likely out for the next, I think they're saying anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks right now, 2 to 3 weeks. So Mike Evans, again, is the wide receiver one on that team. When Godwin missed in week 2, Evans balled out as the wide receiver one. We're going to keep running him out there right now. He's number 13 for me just because I like some of the guys around him. And the one thing about the Buccaneers offense right now is it can change, in my opinion, every single week. It's still a little volatile trying to predict who is going to have a good game and who isn't. And I think we're also going to see the run game a little bit more this week. Yeah, Leonard Fournette might end up being out. He doesn't sound like he's going to end up being able to play, but they're going to feed the ball to Ronald Jones, and it could be a game in which Ronald Jones can have a decent week. So maybe they run the ball a little bit more often this week. At number 12, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, I definitely like him finding the end zone this week. I like that the Rams have moved away from the 12 personnel that they were trying to start the season with. You've probably heard, I've talked about it quite a bit, whether it be in the wide receiver video or the tight end video. 2 weeks ago in week 2, I said to everybody, I said, look, Gerald Everett dealing with an injury. I think what we're going to see this team do is move away from 12 personnel, which includes 2 tight ends on the field, because Van Jefferson has been playing very well on the outside. He has grown extremely well over the offseason. So now you get 3 wide receivers on the field again, and that's where Cooper Kupp is at his best. When he's playing in the slot with 2 other wide receivers on the field, Cooper Kupp is at his best. So I like him this week in that situation. And at number 11, Adam Thielen. I'm liking Adam Thielen again this week as well. He has a huge air yard share right now. So even with a big game last week, from Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen is still looking really good, receiving about 40% of the targeted air yards in that offense. So he's a guy that, you know, he's making those big plays. Was worried that he wasn't going to be able to do that against some cornerback ones, but so far so good. Outside of week 2, he's looked good this season. At number 10, hashtag always Amari. Baby, he is doing big things this season. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, Amari Cooper, but you know, listen, he's actually been consistent through the first 3 games this season. The problem with Amari Cooper is he hasn't found the end zone yet. So the upside hasn't been there. But the dude is second in the NFL in targets right now, and I don't think anyone's even talking about it. We get more questions every single week about Gallup and Lamb than we do Cooper. So those of you that drafted Cooper, you're either just slotting him in and you don't even care to ask our opinion, or maybe you guys didn't draft Amari Cooper at all. I'm not 100% sure. But if you own Amari Cooper, we're slotting him in there because he is seeing more than enough volume every single week. Even with Lamb, even with Gallup, Cooper is still the solidified number one wide receiver in that offense, and the target share shows it. And number 9, Allen Robinson. Matchup this week is not nearly as good as last week, but that connection with Nick Foles, I think Allen Robinson and Nick Foles are going to ball out. So I think that's going to help Allen Robinson continue to lock him in as a wide receiver 1. Up next, 3 different wide receivers coming up here. Julio Jones at 8, Michael Thomas at 7, and Devonta Adams at number 4. All 3 of these guys didn't play last week. All 3 of these guys have returned to practice. All 3 of them are not questionable as of this recording. So because of that, I am ranking them as if they will play here this week. Julio Jones and Devonta Adams, they will be going up against each other on Monday Night Football. That's going to be a really big game. A lot of potential points there. We're going to slot him back into the lineup. Definitely slotting Devonta Adams back into the lineup going up against the Falcons defense. Definitely need to have him in there. A lot of upside this week. And then Michael Thomas, he's going up against the Detroit Lions. So if he's healthy and out there, all 3 of these guys, if they are healthy and playing this week, I am starting them. It's not too often that you see 2 teammates, 2 wide receivers within the top 4. But when Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf have a quarterback that's basically the leader in the clubhouse right now, well, not really in the clubhouse, but the leader right now for the MVP, and has thrown 14 touchdowns in the first 2 games, and you have a good matchup this week, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf both have top 10 upside. So we're getting up there. The only reason that I have Tyler Lockett just a little bit higher than DK Metcalf right now is because really these 2 kind of flip the role in terms of what I thought was going to happen this year. I thought DK Metcalf was going to be a little bit of the safer option. The guy that, yes, he might not have nearly as big plays as Lockett, but he's still going to be really safe because he's going to see a lot of volume. Tyler Lockett's going to be more of the big play guy. It's kind of been switched around this year. So Tyler Lockett necessarily hasn't had to be that big play guy that he has in the past with this offense. He's not really fitting that same role. We've seen Tyler Lockett really kind of morph into this more of a versatile wide receiver, a guy that can win all over the field that isn't necessarily making the majority of his plays down the field. That's good news for Tyler Lockett. He's got such a great connection with Russell Wilson. He's going to continue to stay right there for me up here around this 10 area, more than likely, especially when they both have great options this week. Devonta Adams at number 4, talked about him. Tyreek Hill at number 3, lots of upside there. Obviously, if you own Tyreek Hill, you start him with Patrick Mahomes. Calvin Ridley at number 2, man. Calvin Ridley, look at him taking over that team. The wide receiver 1 there right now. He is balling out and playing like it. Good for him. Really like how he has developed into a true wide receiver 1 over the last couple of years. And then the target king himself, DeAndre Hopkins, defying the move of wide receivers to new teams, especially in this type of an offseason. Dude's been balling out with Kyler Murray there, so he is also having an excellent season and fits right in at number 1. There you have it, Headliner Nation, my top 30 wide receivers for week 4. So plug them into your lineups, get them ready. If you have start-sit questions in this video, if one guy is higher than the other, that is the answer to your question. Just keep that in mind. But if you have other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, become a part of Headliner Nation. Today, almost 105,000 strong. Heck, by the time you watch it, we may be over 105,000. And then as always, if you appreciate the content, make sure you hit that like button for us. We really appreciate it. Headliner Nation, I'm going to bounce out of here. Get ready for some Thursday night football. Okay? Enjoy the games. Get ready for the weekend. Make sure you keep an eye on the channel. And as always, see us Saturday night right here on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Fantasy Headliners Live. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.